also Ravens flock, Derrick Henry is a bona fide Hall of Famer. I don't think that's up for debate. He will be one of the greatest running backs. He will go down as one of the greatest running backs of this era, and maybe even one of the greatest running backs of all time. A guy who's absolutely a freak of nature. And I think he is proven to be the most talented running back the Ravens have ever had. And I know that is a tricky statement to make because the Ravens have we as Ravens fans have had a lot of pride in our running backs, and we've had a history of being able to produce a lot of solid running backs as well as legendary running backs, guys like Jamal Lewis and Ray Rice, among other people, Willis McGahee, a lot of guys that we have very fond memories of, who we think highly of, even with some of them having major controversies associated with them. But I do think Derrick Henry, just off of last year alone, has proven to be the best, the most talented running back, the best and most talented we've ever had, man. Like, this guy is a freak of nature at this point. Now, it made me start to wonder, could Derrick Henry leapfrog somebody like Jamal Lewis to become the best running back in Ravens history, or the greatest running back in the history of our franchise? And that's a tall task to ask, especially when you're talking about getting fans to change their minds and no longer favor guys like Jamal Lewis and instead ride with Derrick. Some people will do it automatically because recency bias, and they're watching this right now, so they're gonna say Derrick. But some people, they may not want to let go of the past, so it may be harder for them to want to admit that or accept that, especially because he's not homegrown talent. Like, we Jamal Lewis, he started his career with us. He played with us for the first like 6 or 7 seasons, so he is homegrown talent. So that's typically gonna make fans more biased towards him by default. Whereas Derrick, obviously, Derrick played the first 8 years of his career in Tennessee. He's definitely one of their best running backs ever. I don't know if he would be the best running back in Titans history, because quiet as kept, the Titans have actually had a lot of legendary running backs, whether it's Eddie George or uh, Earl Campbell, even Chris Johnson, who's another guy like Derrick Henry who had a 2,000-yard season. But as far as the Ravens are concerned, I think it's possible for him to become one of, if not the greatest running back in our history. And he has 3 seasons to make it happen. And look, I did. I wasn't sure. I was not expecting him to come through this past season and light up these teams the way he did. Like, this man in his ninth season at the age of 30 put up 1,900 yards and 16 rushing touchdowns behind a bad offensive line. We could only imagine what he would have done behind an offensive line like what they have in Philadelphia or Detroit. So to me, he's already shown that he's more than capable of defying the odds, and he is a otherworldly being. This man is a freak of nature. So it's, in my opinion, it is very possible for him in the next 3 years to leapfrog every running back we've ever had, and be a guy who we would say is the best running back in Ravens history. Uh, as far as like stats go, right now, he's already, just off of last season alone, he's climbed to like the eighth all time in our franchise's history in rushing yards. That would be the hardest thing to accomplish as far as surpassing Jamal Lewis. That would mean he would need 5,800 rushing yards in the next 3 years, unless he plays beyond those 3 years, which I don't think he will. I'm just going to assume he's not going to play for the Ravens beyond those 3 years. Like, he may retire. But I mean, 5,800 rushing yards in 3 years, like, you would have to average 1,950 yards or 1,960 yards a year in order to surpass him from that standpoint. But even if he gets close, I think that would still make a world of a difference. I'm not saying he's going to necessarily come back next year and put up another 1,900-yard season, but even if he came through the next 3 years and put up 1,500 yards back to back to back, and on top of that, if we actually win a Super Bowl with him, like we won a Super Bowl with Jamal, that we won in the year 2000, if we win one, or better yet, multiple Super Bowls with Derrick, and if he could even in the next 3 seasons give us more or less 4,500 yards, I think those two things alone in the eyes of many Ravens fans, would change their mind and say, you know what, Derrick was better, man. Like even though Jamal was great in his own right, Derrick is just in another universe. Like especially for him to do that at this age, you know, Derrick already has the record for the longest run in our franchise's history. We all saw it last year. That 87-yard touchdown run against the Buffalo Bills, that epic run that was literally the first offensive play of the game for us. He also already has 16 rushing touchdowns just in one season. So he would only need like 30 touchdowns to surpass Jamal Lewis in the most rushing touchdowns in franchise history, which in a 3-season span, I think that actually is pretty realistic. It's about 10 touchdowns a year. I think Derrick is going to get that done. He's also averaging 5.9 yards per carry, which from what I could tell when I was looking it up, I didn't go through the full list because some of the people on this list were, it was also including guys who may have rushed the ball once or twice, but this easily has to be one of the highest, if not the highest, yards per carry by any running back we've had, and almost any other player we've had. The only player who's averaged more rushing yards that I could see is Lamar Jackson, who obviously averages 6.1 yards per carry, but I think it's within reach. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think Derrick has a shot at surpassing Jamal Lewis, or do you think it's just too out of reach and he's on the backside of his career, so he's not too worried about that and it's not realistic anyway? And if you do think he has a shot, what do you think he would need to do? Like, do you think it needs to be Super Bowls? Do you think it just needs to be him continuing to produce numbers, produce stats the way he's already producing it, like putting up 1,900 yards a year? Do you think he just needs to have another 2,000-yard season? Do you think it, or do you just think it's just gonna be strictly off of vibes? Like, are people just gonna feel differently about Derrick, especially if we win a Super Bowl and he technically becomes our first running back to make it to the Hall of Fame? Because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Jamal Lewis is in the Hall of Fame. I'm about to check real quick, like, but yeah, Jamal Lewis is not in the Hall of Fame. So like I know for a fact Derrick Henry is going into the Hall of Fame. Like Derrick Henry is one more good season away from being like in the top 10 all time in rushing yards. He is absolutely going into the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. But let me know, do you think Derrick has a shot at being, without a shadow of a doubt, the Ravens' best running back of all time when it's all said and done?